011-98-100 or 055-1126-448. To Lexus University College, be knowledgeable and innovative in science and technology.
When I say ABSA, you say yes. ABSA Banking Tea. We go say yes. This 2026 till your jobs but drop it down. Yes, you listening to me right now. I know you get dreams and work is here. And they work it well. Like me, I want to buy that Porsche car I've been dreaming of. I move into my dream house. No landlord will send me a bill. Join the ABSA family and let's help you say yes to your dreams with tailored banking solutions from loans, mortgages, credit cards to digital banking and more. Make 2026 the year of yes with ABSA. Your story matters.
The World Cup is more than just football. It's emotion, passion, and unforgettable shared moment. Hisense TV at the experience every move with stunning visuals, immersive sound, and smooth motion. And as a world transfer, a bema feeling it said the whole stadium wow, which in a front row football match. From compact 32-inch TVs to massive 116-inch displays and premium laser TVs ranging from 100 to 150 inches. Hisense offers the perfect screen size for every fan and every space. Hisense Television delivers the ultimate football viewing experience, keeping you connected before, during, and after every match. This World Cup season, don't just watch, experience it with Hisense. This World Cup, Hisense is offering juicy packages from MTN and DSTV. Hisense, everyday prices for everyday people.
94, 95, 96, 97.3 Citi FM. It doesn't get any better than that. Detailed news, unparalleled coverage. City News on 97.3 FM. Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens. City News.
It's 1700 GMT. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. I am Umaru Sanda Amadou. Coming up tonight on Eyewitness News.
What we witnessed yesterday, the well-choreographed, well-planned, well-orchestrated acquittal and discharge of Madam Sedinam Tamaklu, who stole some 90 million Ghana cedis by the Court of Appeal. What we witnessed yesterday is not an isolated judicial outcome, no. It was the unmasking of a system, and this afternoon we intend to expose and confront it squarely.
Opposition New Patriotic Party to embark on a demonstration next week Thursday over the acquittal of former Maslock CEO Sedina Tamaklu, saying the decision undermines Ghana's democracy. We'll be hearing the party's reasoning here on Eyewitness News. Also, coming up, former local government minister kicks against government proposals in the election of MMDCs flowing from the Constitution Review Committee's recommendations. We'll be hearing the reasons that he has for kicking against SABE. And still on Eyewitness News, Gender and Social Protection Advisor to the New Patriotic Party's 2024 presidential candidate, and actually 2028 presidential candidate as well, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. Her name is Akosia Meno. She has petitioned Parliament to investigate comments made by the Member of Parliament for Ahafano South East, Yakubu Mohammed, who suggested to a 9-year-old girl that he was going to marry her during a visit to the house. Stay with 97.3 Citi FM for more on this and many other stories on Eyewitness News. We have business news and talk back, all as part of the 2-hour-long show that we'll be bringing to you. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. I am Umaru Sanda Amadou. We start off with the freeing of Sedina Tamaklu. Yesterday, the Court of Appeal, by unanimous decision 3-0, agreed that the High Court, which sentenced or convicted and sentenced the former Maslock CEO, erred, and for that reason, she was a free woman and she should go. Mind you, she is currently serving her prison in Nsawam. At least that's what we have been told after she returned to the country from the US, where she has been for the better part of the last 2 years or so. Now, if you look at the judgment and listen to comments from members of the government side, they say that the Attorney General did a poor job. Indeed, the attack is directly targeted at former Attorney General Godfrey Adame, that he did a lousy job, which lousy job was exposed by the 3 Court of Appeal justices yesterday. Now, Godfrey Adame, when he was Attorney General, had his deputy being, at one point, Joseph Kwenka, and at a later point, Alfred Yeboah. Alfred Yeboah has actually joined us on the line. We want to hear his comments on that decision of the Court of Appeal yesterday. Lawyer, you're welcome to Eyewitness News.
Thank you very much, my brother.
You've heard the decision of the Court of Appeal. I'm sure by now you would have read the judgment. What do you make of it?
Thank you very much. Yes, I have read the judgment, and my initial comments are that the judgment is poor in reasoning, also poor in analysis, and the judgment lacks substance. The evidence on record, as properly evaluated by the prior judge, was rather shared for convenience. And so the judgment, as I see it, rather very weak and cannot meet any legal scrutiny.
Okay. And your reason is what you have just said, but is it because the judgment attacked your work as prosecutors, that you did not put your house in order and that you put the cart before the horse and that you provided a defective charge sheet, among others?
Far from that. I'm talking on the basis of law, and I shall demonstrate it right now. Now, if you read the judgment, the Court of Appeal is telling us that the charge sheet that formed the basis of the prosecution to them was defective. So, question, was the charge sheet defective? If it was, what are the legal consequences of such a defective charge sheet? First and foremost, I would place on record that the charge sheet wasn't defective at all. So that's the first answer. But maybe for argument's sake, let's take it that it was even defective. What is the effect of such a defective charge sheet? Respectfully, the Court of Appeal judges shared statutory injunctions regarding how such defective charge sheet should be looked at by a court of law. If the charge sheet, as they claim, was defective, then there are 2 main statutes that the Court of Appeal ought to have taken a look at. First, the Courts Act. If you take the Courts Act by Section 31, subsection 2, it's as clear as daylight. And it will effect that an appellate court shall not grant an appeal on the ground that the charge sheet forming the basis of the prosecution is defective, provided there are pieces of evidence on record to back the conviction, no matter how the charges were framed. And so in the Court of Appeal, as it was constituted, has taken time to look at this piece of legislation, the reason have arrived at rather unreasonable judgment that they delivered yesterday. Secondly, if you also look at Section 401 of the of the Criminal Procedure Act, it's also to the effect that the court shall not set aside the judgment on the grounds that the charges were defective. So I ask the question, did the Court of Appeal look at these 3 laws? Is it this piece of legislation? Did they look at them? That's there for convenience. And let me also please on record, anyone who wants to appreciate the actual evidence in this particular case will be doing refuses to look at the court of appeal judgment alone without regard to the judgment delivered by the trial court. What the court of appeal did in this particular instance is to isolate areas that they thought were convenient to them. But if we take the actual judgment, we realize that what they did was rather a shoddy job. What is evidence on record? Because they also indicated that there wasn't evidence on record. And I must say that there was this mountain of evidence on record that were never assailed. And those pieces of evidence on record will lead any reasonable court to a conclusion that Ferdinand Tamaklo had a case to answer. The first one is about an amount of 500,000 Ghana cedis that Ferdinand Tamaklo was alleged to have stolen. In this particular matter, we led the following pieces of evidence. One, we led evidence to the fact that that amount was a loan advanced to a microfinance company in the Ashanti region. When the company received that check, they realized that the conditions of the loan were not weren't favorable to them, and so they requested to send the money back by way of checks. We led evidence also to show that the company requested that instead of them bringing the check, they should rather bring cash. We brought the cash to Accra. We led evidence to that effect. Instead of meeting them at Maslog office in Accra, chose to meet them at the filling station at Pachuna in Accra and took the 500,000 Ghana cedis. And the officers of the company who came to deliver the money were called to testify in court. When she also received the money, Ferdinand Tamaklo issued a receipt note, and that receipt note was also tendered. And so if anybody tells me that there wasn't a piece of evidence regarding this amount of money, then that person, with all respect, maybe didn't read the proceedings because of the voluminous nature of it, or decided to concoct his own findings. Now, on that particular issue, the accountant at Maslog testified to the fact that the 500,000 was never paid back into the coffers of Maslog. The auditors who were engaged also went through all the documents available and came out with their report that indeed that amount wasn't returned. And so, with this huge evidence on record, if a court of appeal will say this wasn't evidence, then I've said somewhere, then it appears that they were expecting Jesus Christ or Muhammad to come and tell them that the prosecution was telling the truth.
But you see, but you see, you are a lawyer, and the judges actually referenced that, but they also said that that was hearsay evidence. And I'm sure you are pretty much aware that based on the evidence decree, hearsay evidence is not admissible unless certain requirements are satisfied. And to the extent that you could not satisfy that, they cannot simply convict, or a judge should not simply convict on hearsay evidence. You know that.
I don't want to think, but I can respond to you on that one, then I'll proceed so that I don't lose the trend of my argument. Who tells you that hearsay argument, the hearsay automatically is with hearsay, you cannot convict? It depends on the nature of the hearsay. Left first-hand hearsay, left second-hand hearsay, and was that hearsay objected to? I mean, these are the things, so they can make that flash statement. But it wasn't hearsay because the person who took the money to her said, yes, we met you at Pachuna. We gave the money to you. You gave us a document to that effect. Auditors have gone through the books and they tell you that indeed that money never came back to Maslog. The internal auditor in charge of the company, the audit accountant, he testified that that money came back. So what are you talking about? Hearsay evidence? And that's what I'm saying. The Court of Appeal conveniently decided to just put across their own theory of the case without looking at how the trial judge meticulously, my emphasis, sifted through the evidence and evaluated it. Let's take note. The trial judge sat on this matter, listened to the evidence, was abreast with it, and then was able to come out with the fine details of the matter. Okay. And so if they talk about hearsay, the non-starter, the second piece of evidence that I also want to look at. Before you look at
that, there are two issues you raised earlier that I want you to respond to based on the question I'm going to ask you. You talked about the Act 30. Now, and you talk about what the Court of Appeal should do and the procedure. The Court of Appeal yesterday in the decision or the judgment has said that they agree and know that they are not necessarily supposed to reverse a judgment on all these technical issues and so on. In fact, let me read that for you. Page 57 of the judgment says, subject to this part, and they are referring to section 406 of subject to this part of a finding, sentence or order passed by a court of competent jurisdiction shall not be reversed or altered on appeal or review on account of an error, omission, or irregularity in the complaint, summons, warrant, charge, proclamation, order, judgment. And so they're talking about the charge. So they're saying that even if there's an error with the charge, the court should not ordinarily overturn it. But there's an exception. And the exception is in clause 2, which says, in determining whether, in fact, subsection 1, clause C, it says, of a misdirection in a charge to a jury, unless the error, omissions, irregularity, or misdirection has in fact occasioned a substantial miscarriage of justice. So the Court of Appeal held that yesterday there was a substantial miscarriage of justice as a result of that erroneous charge or that defective charge that was presented, and that's why they will not let the conviction hold.
Thank you very much, Sandra. The last exception that you read, can you repeat it?
Yes, it's
a misdirection to who?
A misdirection, unless the error, it says, so a misdirection in a charge, so of a misdirection in a charge to a jury, unless the error, omissions, irregularity, to a jury. Mm-hmm.
Was this matter tried by a jury? So this is it. That's why you say Court of Appeal conveniently, you have to quoting it. Because this one was not on indictment, there was no jury. The jury where you want to direct them. If you misdirect them on the law, or based on that, the court is fine. That's an exception. So you see, that one alone gives the Court of Appeal out. But if you take it to the Courts Act, that I also cited, it's very clear. So for convenience, they decided to use this kind of law and apply it to a summary trial. What did the trial judge do? He appreciated, he evaluated, looked at the evidence, and then came out with her findings. But for convenience, the Court of Appeal, that's why I fought them for this judgment that I call rather a cancerous one. Now, I was going to the second piece of evidence on record. The second piece of evidence had to do with, as you know, the market women at Kantamanto. We led evidence to show that an amount of over 1.4 million was voted by the government to support the Kantamanto women. We led evidence. But out of that amount, over 600,000 or close thereof wasn't used. And that amount didn't come back to the books of Maslow. The accountants who can testify to that effect. The auditors who went through the books testified to that effect. And so if we say there's no evidence on record, what are they trying to tell us? The third one, an amount of 1.8 million Ghana cedis was set aside by Maslow to give sensitization program to over 85,000 beneficiaries nationwide. They had to go through 10 regions then. The evidence on record by Maslow, the witness that go from there, by the driver, by the auditors, showed that Madame Temaklo went to only 3 regions, and with that spent only 1,300 Ghana cedis. 1.8 million spent 1,300 Ghana cedis. So where did the rest 1.7 plus million go? And you have this piece of evidence so cogent, so potent, and because we see there wasn't evidence on record. My Jesus Christ. So let me ask again. The next one. If the Maslow, as you all know, also voted 246,000 Ghana cedis to also do some financial literacy for its customers. The audit showed, the investigators, they were able to prove. We let evidence show that not a peso of that amount was used for the program, but the amount was withdrawn and the money never came back. So who took that money? So we had that kind of piece of evidence on record. With respect to review the vehicles, 350 vehicles, the market price then, the highest market price was over $10.1 million. But in their book, they said they bought them for $14.5 million. Has it not occasioned a loss to the state? Isn't there any evidence to that effect? So if you pick the record of appeal, you pick the judgment, and you pitch it against the Court of Appeal judgment, realize that the Court of Appeal did a shoddy job. This lady is now walking away in a very cool fashion with 90 million Ghana cedis. Your tax, my tax. That's where my worry is. We need to protect the public purse, irrespective of a person's political inclination. If the person is from MPP and the law catches with him, please let the law deal with him. If the person is NDC and law catches up with him, let the law deal with the person. But if we begin to behave this way, and in the fight against corruption, we have a section of judiciary that we want to just say this is how we also want to contribute to the fight by setting people free, not basing our judgment on the evidence on record. But we have a very long way to go, my brother.
Okay. Another thing, the Constitution provides for the presumption of innocence of everybody on trial. And the Constitution also says it is you, the prosecution, and for that matter, the state, that should prove beyond reasonable doubt that a person has committed a crime. The Court of Appeal held yesterday that one, you could not prove that Sedina Tamaklo committed a crime beyond reasonable doubt. 2, you presumed her guilty and expected the burden of proving otherwise to be on her, instead of the reverse, where you should have the burden of proving her guilt. You are rather asking her to prove her innocence. The court thought that you had turned the law on its head, and that, again, fundamentally wrong.
The court was rather wrong in appreciating the impact of the burden of proof. If, for example, we dropped a charge sheet that without lawful authority did ABC, and even that is even wrong, we need to prove that you did ABC without even coming upon to explain yourself. We need to prove it, which we concede. It is the burden of the state to prove its case beyond reasonable doubt. And in this particular matter, the state called several solid witnesses with various documentary evidence to prove that indeed over 90 million Ghana cedis was either stolen or was supplied by Attah-Mensah and her accomplice. And so when the court said there's a burden, I've read that part, and I, with all due respect, it's a combination of English. But the simple proof is that the burden of proof, if you're able to leave convincing evidence that the person must provide an answer respectfully. In a technically loose term, you say the burden has shifted. It doesn't mean that the prosecution can only go to court and say, we have proved it.
Yes,
but
that shifting of the burden has to be provided by a statute. A statute has to say that this person has to prove why they have, for instance, 1 million cedis in their account. That if that statute says so, then yes. But if the statute does not say that, and the court again talked about that too, so you cannot suddenly just put the burden on the person to prove their innocence. You have to prove their guilt. They can actually just keep quiet.
Sandra, I have done this job for 24, 25 years. I've done criminal prosecution. I've done criminal defense. I know how the burden of proof works in criminal prosecution. When it comes to a criminal prosecution, the public has the burden to prove that the accused person has committed the offense beyond reasonable doubt. But there are some exceptions where, as we really indicated, where you have an offense where we have to just say, for example, possess a firearm without authority. In that case, I will only prove that you possess firearm. Then it will go to you automatically for you to prove that you have authority. That's a more liberal sense. But in technical sense, as I said, if the state proves this case, you must also, as a matter of sensitivity, you are not guilty, lead evidence to raise doubt. And raising that doubt is a burden. Hence, so you cannot say there's no burden. That's what the Court of Appeal did. But it won't any lawyer listening to me, who's a practitioner, who's a criminal law practitioner, knows that when the court says that it's a case for you to answer, it means that the prosecution has satisfied all the ingredients in the specific charges. And the accused person then assumes that kind of way to say, fine, you say there's a case for me. I'm raising a doubt in your case, and that's a burden on you in a loose form. That is it. Court of Appeal got it wrong.
All right, let's leave it here. Thank you so much for speaking to us.
My pleasure.
That's Godfred Tian Yeboah. He's a former Deputy Attorney General. He served under Godfred Yeboah Dami as Attorney General, who has just issued a statement on the events of yesterday. Hansen Ajima is our legal affairs correspondent. He's seen that particular statement. He's joined me in studio. Hansen, you're welcome.
Thank you, Sanda.
What's Godfred Dami saying?
So he's first clarifying that he was not aware of any notice of appeal. If you will realize, when the judgment came out, some persons indicated that the appeal only came to light when the NDC came to power. And as a rebuttal, some lawyers had indicated that the appeal was filed as far back as 2024 after the judgment of the High Court. But Godfred Dami is saying that he was not aware of any such appeal, and he's saying that even state attorneys in both oral and written submissions indicated this fact to the Court of Appeal in April 2026, that they have not been served with a notice of appeal, and that they became aware of the proceedings only after the Court of Appeal directed the parties to file their written submissions.
So Godfred Dami is saying that the appeal against conviction and sentence by Sedina Tamaklo did not happen when the MPP was in power in 2024.
He's saying that to the best of his knowledge, the appeal, even if it was filed, was never brought to the attention of the state. And since it was not brought to the attention of the state, he, as Attorney General at the time, could not have done anything. And he seeks to buttress this with what he says was a statement or a submission made by state attorneys in 2026, that they only became aware of the that they had not been served with a notice of the appeal, and that they became aware of the proceedings after the Court of Appeal directed the parties to file their written submissions in the matter.
So Hansen, in the course of this discussion, I think it was around the period that Sedina was brought back home. We were having an interview on Eyewitness News. One of the lawyers who have interest in this case sent me the notice of appeal. Now, this was titled The Republic as Respondent versus Sedina Christine Tamaklo, first accused, and appellant, then Daniel Azim, second accused, who is not an appellant. The case number is CR 9042017. Okay, so case number is CR 904-2017. It was filed in, okay, so it said filed on 12 February or 12-02-2026 at 12:50 a.m. and it's signed by the Registrar Court of Appeal. Now it says written submission. So this is not the notice of appeal. This written submission filed for and on behalf of the first accused appellant pursuant to the order of court dated 10th February 2026. So this would have come way after the notice of appeal has been filed, if it has been filed at all.
So after judgment, what happens is that if you disagree and the judgment is by the High Court, you file what they call notice of appeal. And then when you file the notice of appeal, the records of proceedings at the High Court will be put together. And then when you make the necessary payments and fulfill the necessary conditions, the record of appeal will then now be sent to the Court of Appeal. Directions will be given for parties to now file their written submissions. And then the Court of Appeal, properly seized with the matter, can then adjourn for judgment.
Okay.
Godfred Dami is saying that the notice of appeal didn't come to his attention
when he was in
power, and that even as of 2026, in April 2026, state attorneys were saying that they were not aware of the notice of appeal until there was a direction for them to file their written submissions.
Let me read for you what the written submission again here says. So the first paragraph says, "My lords, this is an appeal against the judgment of the High Court presided over by Her Ladyship Mrs. Justice Efia Sewa Asaribotre, JA, sitting in Financial Division 2 of the High Court Accra as an additional High Court judge, delivered on 16th April 2024, and convicting and sentencing the appellant of the offenses of conspiracy to steal, stealing, conspiracy to cause financial loss to the state, causing financial loss to the state, causing loss to public property, improper payment of public funds, unauthorized commitment resulting in financial obligation to government, money laundering, and breach of the Procurement Act. Now, here's the interesting part. The second sentence in that first paragraph, it says, the judgment is found at pages 274 to 372 of Volume 2 of the Record of Appeal, the record. Aggrieved by said judgment, the appellant appealed against the said judgment to the Court of Appeal. In the notice of appeal filed on 9th May 2024 and found at pages 373 to 380 of Volume 2 of the record, the appellant raised 9 grounds of appeal. So this written submission is suggesting that they filed the appeal, the notice of appeal, on 9th May 2024.
Which Godfrey Dami is not challenging.
But he has not seen.
He's saying that when you file a process at the court, you need to serve the other person.
Mm-hmm.
So in this case, the Republic.
Okay.
And Godfrey Dami is saying that when he was Attorney General, no service of a notice of appeal came to his attention,
mm-hmm.
and that even after he left as Attorney General,
mm-hmm.
state attorneys who went to court said they had not even seen any notice of appeal until the court gave directions to file their written submissions.
Mm-hmm.
Then he goes on further to say that in any event, even if an appeal was filed by Sedina Ationu in 2024, it is completely immaterial because no further step was taken by her as the accused appellant until the NDC came back to power. Thus, the Republic had to do nothing in 2024 in terms of the conduct of that appeal. And he went on to say that as Attorney General, the responsibility that was on him was to make sure that the convicted person who was out of the country
mm-hmm.
will be extradited into the country, and for which he says that he delivered an extradition pack to the United States, which resulted in her extradition, and goes on further to say that considering the issues about the missing records, so for instance, he says lawyers for Sedina Ationu only obtained leave from Court of Appeal to file written submissions on February 10, 2026, and proceeded to file the said written submissions on February 12, 2026. At this time, I was not in office as Attorney General.
Okay.
My understanding is that the prosecuting state attorneys were surprised when they were served with the written submissions of the accused or accused appellant on February 16, 2024, because they had no prior notice of the pendency of any proceedings. In their written submissions, the principal state attorney repeated her complaints about an incomplete record of appeal, an omission from the record of all exhibits tendered by the prosecution at the trial, and the fact that they became aware of the instant proceedings after the court had directed the parties to file their written submissions.
So this,
he goes on further.
This is saying that he didn't have knowledge of it, but did he respond directly to the quote and unquote or the seeming attack on his work as Attorney General in preparing the charge sheets, which have been described by the court as defective? Did he respond to any of those? Well, now he's saying that, well, even if there was a notice of appeal, he was not aware. But did he also deny the tag put on him that his office prepared a quote and unquote whack charge and brought against the lady, for which reason they had to throw it out?
So part of the statement reads, the public rejection of the acquittal and discharge of Sedina Ationu are merited considering the cogent evidence led at the trial, which enjoyed massive media coverage and was that easy for all to appreciate. The development is consistent with the predilection of the Attorney General to discontinue all cases where we are being prosecuted against leading members of the affiliates of the NDC. It's marks of an orchestration to clear the lady of her felonious acts and highlights the growing perception of Ghana's current justice system. Two sets of laws for two sets of people. Equality before the law exists only in theory and is not lived practically. The Sedina scandal is the closest Ghana has been to a reenactment of the Woyomi scandals. Ghanaians ought to demand more from a government which set out after inauguration to discontinue all criminal cases pending against its leading members, only to launch immediately thereafter a policy of oral by which it aggressively parades leading members of the opposition in court on alleged corruption-related offences in trials conducted under extremely difficult conditions. So the only response, or at least the response that I can see, which goes directly to conversations that and the judgment of the Court of Appeal that the state did not prove its case beyond reasonable doubt, is point 11, where he talks about the fact that the reactions to the acquittal and discharge of Sedina Tamaklo is because of what he describes cogent evidence, which he says was led at trial, which enjoyed massive media coverage and was that easy for all to appreciate.
Thank you so much, Hansen Ajiman, our legal affairs correspondent. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. We are coming to you from our studios in Accra. I am Umaru Sanda Amadu. We're just talking there about the freeing of Sedina Tamaklo, former CEO of Maslock. That happened yesterday. The reactions from former Attorney General Godfrey Dami and former Deputy Attorney General Alfred Tuan-Yeboah. When we come back, I have the Honorable Martin Ejie-Mensah Kosa, Member of Parliament for Techiman South, former Minister for Local Government, Rural Development and Integration. He has issue with the government's white paper on the local government plan in terms of voting for MMDCs and how to do that. I have him. He'll be speaking to us in a jiffy. Please stay.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
Everybody they sell, but your shop they empty.
Where's my report?
Bro, month no end here too. But see, your pocket stop they take. Another emergency for the house?
Shit, come and get ideas. Ideas go kill them.
Another idea, another mark time. No capital to start. For some people, this silence no be peaceful. It be money matter.
With bills, there's no need for silence. From my emergency loans to salary loans to working capital loans and startup loans, Bills has you covered.
Apply with your Ghana card today. Call 0596 920 833 or 0302 200 390. Bills, financing your needs. T's and C's apply.
Looking for engineering excellence you can trust?
Welcome to Left Signature Limited, driving progress through technology and engineering excellence.
From expert electrical engineering design, installation, power systems, renewable energy, automation and control,
to reliable data center and managed services, power infrastructure, network connectivity, server virtualization, cloud integration and data security.
And cutting-edge software development, custom business applications, web and mobile apps, cloud and DevOps solutions.
Integrity, safety, accountability, teamwork. That's the Left Signature promise.
And now, introducing the Left Power app.
Request for our services anytime, anywhere. Available on the Play Store, App Store, and on the web.
Ready to power your success?
Choose Left Signature Limited. Visit www.leftsignature.com.
Call +233 256 111 811.
Left Signature Limited. Engineering excellence for a connected future.
Charlie, trim I'm nice. I get some serious meeting. Allah, motion. But Charlie, no credit today. Oh, but you relax. More day.
Hey, what funny.
Yes, so I borrow small, sort myself out, I pay back. We move. Spot there. Ah, Charlie, you sure say you dey pay back? Yes, so that anytime somebody else they need them, Momo day. Be like I can't borrow some more. Hey, you this boy. Don't go there and disgrace yourself. Allah motion.
Responsible borrowing with a real Flexo for today's needs and tomorrow's dreams. Borrow, sort them, pay back. Momo day.
Let your voice be heard on Eyewitness News on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag Eyewitness News.
Yeah, welcome back. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. We are coming to you from our studios in Accra. I am Umaru Sandama. I'll be speaking to the Honorable Martin J-Mensah Kosa shortly. Let me just be sure if he's... Honorable Martin J-Mensah Kosa, are you here with me?
Yeah, I'm here, Umaru.
Great. Thank you so much. I'll be speaking to you in a jiffy. I just want us to hear from your national organizer, Henry Nana Boakye. He's not talking about what you are coming to talk about. He's talking about the decision of the court yesterday. He called a press conference and he says the NPP will be going on the streets next week, Thursday. Let's listen to Nanabi.
Yesterday, she was given her liberty. Barely 7 weeks after the taxpayer funded her extradition from United States of America. Consider this record, because the record is damning. This was a 5-year trial before a court of competent jurisdiction. 5 good years. The prosecution's case was built on documentary evidence, forensic audit, and sworn testimony. The convicting judgment of her ladyship, Justice Afia Sewa Asaribochi, which we challenge every journalist, all of you here, we challenge you to go and read the judgment. It is very meticulous, count by count dissection of fraud, fictitious disbursement, monies meant for struggling market women dissipated. Remember the Cantonment market. This woman dissipated monies meant for them. And above all, serious breaches of our public procurement laws. No serious lawyer or no serious Ghanaian who has read the judgment can honestly describe the evidence as seen, describe the evidence as anything other than overwhelming. She did not stay to answer it. She fled the jurisdiction mid-trial and was convicted in absentia. A fugitive from the very justice system that has now embraced her and freed her. And yet, within 7 weeks of her forced return, the conviction has evaporated. We ask the questions every Ghanaian is asking. On what principle of law does a mountain of evidence become a mirage? Which findings of fact were perverse? Which directions on the law were wrong? The Ghanaian people are entitled to answers because justice under our constitution is administered in the name, and they can smell what this is. This was not an appeal succeeding on its merit. This was an overcome, procured, packaged, and well delivered. The NPP states without fear of contradiction, this acquittal was politically motivated, well orchestrated and planned, and its timing on the eve of legal vacation, with public attention divided, is no coincidence, and it's not an accident at all. And we hear the Attorney General says he's going to go before the Supreme Court on appeal. It is all part of the well-choreographed plan. Fellow Ghanaians, the time for silence is over. The New Patriotic Party hereby serves notice that on 6th of August, next week Thursday, 2026, in collaboration with other political parties, civil society, organizations, professional bodies, student movement, youth movement, and all well-meaning citizens, we shall embark on massive demonstration to defend our democracy. We are starting here in Accra and we'll be going to other regions as well to defend our democracy, our constitution, and the rule of law.
So that's Henry Nana Boachi, his national organizer of the New Patriotic Party. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. Apart from the freeing of Sedina Tamakulu, another major thing that happened yesterday is that the government issued a position paper on the Constitution Review Committee's work on the review of our constitution or the amendment of our constitution. So the government accepted some of the proposals or recommendations. It rejected some of the recommendations. It made amendments to some of the recommendations. Now, there's one that is of interest to many people who watch the local governance space. On the election of DCEs, the proposal from the Constitution Review Committee was that we should replace the presidential appointment with election, and that there should be direct popular election in designated voting districts. The government accepted this. Okay. Now, the method, though, was modified by the government. The method proposed by the CRC is that there should be indirect election by 2/3 majority of assembly members in other districts. Then it says that a devolution commission should implement the system in phases. The government said all districts should use the same electoral approach with 3 shortlisted candidates presented for election. And then it also rejects differentiated voting and non-voting districts. The government further says that the president shall nominate 5. A committee vets them, and then they are shortlisted to 3. Then these 3 persons, at least 2 of the president's 5 nominees must be women, and at least 1 of the 3 shortlisted candidates must be a woman. Then these 3 will then go to the general populace to vote. What does Honorable Martin Attah-Mensah Kosa think? We are asking him this because he's held a very important office of local government ministry before as minister, and he is a member of parliament representing the people of Techiman South. Honorable, you're welcome to Eyewitness News.
Thank you very much, Maru, for having me.
It's good to see you. I spoke to the Chamber of Local Government yesterday. The chamber said that...
Hello, Maru.
Yes, can you hear me?
I hardly can hear you. I think the volume is quite low.
Is it any better? Can you hear me?
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Quite faintly. I'm struggling to hear you. If you can increase the volume from your end.
I'll do so. I'll try it. I'll just try. Kindly crave my grant me the permission to see if we can go further. So I'm saying that yesterday I had an interview with the Chamber of Local Government. The chamber said everything that was mentioned in the government position is on point, and that it is the way to go. What's your position?
Well, thank you, and thanks for having me. I disagree. Yes, there had been a meeting of minds on the need to have the position of municipal, metropolitan, and district chief executives elected. But the true and proper concept of an election is not what we are being given. What is being introduced has the potential of a one-sided competition. It is one that potentially would seek to exclude political opponents or persons who do not share common beliefs or are like-minded with government. If you want to go and nominate 5 persons, which will be shortlisted to 3 and go into an election, clearly you would not open the space up as one would have wished. There is hardly any guarantee that persons who do not share in the ideas of the NDC government won't ever catch the president's eye and won't have the opportunity ever of partaking in any election. Don't forget, this is a government born out of a party that just a year and a half in opposition kicked against any partisan involvement or interruption in this process. It therefore comes as a surprise that you would want an NDC partisan-led government to have the opportunity of nominating 5 of its own, if I can say potentially, to be presented after a shortlisting of 3, to be presented to be voted as chief executive. Clearly, it is not an election that is nationally competitive, that is open to the rank and file. I mean, it's an election that is virtually cooked and skewed to one side. And it would let us lose the essence of calling for this particular change in the status quo. And so there's a huge problem with it. It's not too late. If government wants to give a true and proper meaning to decentralization and enhancing our democracy, then we cannot have a one-sided competition or election of who becomes an MMDCE. And that has to be looked at.
Okay, I asked the same question of the chamber yesterday, which agrees with the government's position. And he said to me, I cannot suggest that the president should not have no hand in our local governance architecture and structure, because we are not a federal state. We are a unitary state. And to the extent that we are a unitary state, we have one president who runs the country or governs the country, unlike where in the federal state, a governor could be elected separately from the president's party. In this case, don't forget that all the national resources or the resources that we use to develop the district will be coming from the president. And again, when people elect a president, they expect development in their locality. The DC then becomes the agent of development for and on behalf of the president. So the president must by all means have a hand on who becomes a local government leader. And again, the president's hand is tied in the appointment and the disappointment, because the election is now left for the people to do. That is as independent as it can get, isn't it?
It does not. It does not. Under the current arrangement, Umaru, under Article 2431, the president is vested with the power of appointing MMDCs. You are saying, or we are saying, that we need to make it more open, ensure much more transparency, give opportunity to people who necessarily may not end up being quote unquote stooges and can contribute better because once they are elected. Now, if you are going to go and touch Article 2431 to take away the power of the president to appoint, and then we are told that the solution or the option is again to go give back that power to the president, then what have we done? It's better leaving it there. Because, like I keep saying, you cannot have a situation where the president goes to pick 5 of his party members, given the argument you just advanced, 5 of his party members, reduce it to 3, and say the 3 should go into the election and 1 emerges. We haven't made any change. We are playing ostrich. We are going to spend a lot of the state's resources and pretend to be conducting elections competitive enough, but it's rather one-sided. So we are better off saving our resources and then allowing the president to carry on with the power to appoint. After all, it is one leg of appointing by the president to another leg of appointed by the president. There's hardly any change. I mean, how do you want to call an election as such when the space for participation is limited to one political party? It clearly, for me, doesn't achieve much. And I'm worried that is not a concept that we thought should be to go. And again, the NDC's own position in opposition was clearly against this. This is a direct partisan interference or involvement, which is not too far from what is currently happening. And so then there's no need to pretend as though we are changing the status quo and going to waste resources and get the same results. I mean, it's difficult to make that position as they are espousing.
You were once Minister for Local Government and Rural Development, Decentralization and more. Are you suggesting that a government and the president of the day should have no hand in who is a local government or the local president in any area? If that happens, would there not be a disconnect between power in Accra and power in, say, your village district? Because you need the president to be interested. He has to know who is there. Even though he may not have the power to remove that person based on the new proposal, at least they work together and talk together, don't you?
Umaru, the president has the opportunity of over 5,000 single appointments, 5,000 in this country. In the wisdom of the proponents of this, as it was under Akufo-Addo, which eventually sent a bill to Parliament, he was magnanimous enough to say, of all the powers that are exercised, let me give away that for 261 MMDAs to deepen our decentralization and push forward our democracy. Make for much more broader participation. A president who has the opportunity of appointing 5,000 or more shouldn't have a challenge if really they are committed to enhancing our decentralization program. And again, within the local governance space, there are several other appointments that the president is clothed with to do. But this particular one, as we speak, and as was introduced by the Akufo-Addo government, based on consultations, it's a clear deviation. And for me, it does not change anything in the very, very little sense.
Okay.
What it does is just making a turnaround of a position of the president's appointment to another of the president's appointment. It achieves virtually very little purpose.
Even though the Public Services Commission is involved in here, it is a Public Services Commission, a public institution, which would be whittling down the number from 5 to 3. You don't trust that's transparent?
Imaro, I don't think that institutions of state are of that stage where we can ensure that there's a dispassionate, independent, uninterfered process. I mean, your guess may be good as mine. We are, as a country, struggling to ensure the independence of the institutions of state. And currently, if you look at the conversations you had before me, there's a worrying trend happening all around us. And you cannot make this yet another one. You and I know that achieving that goal is going to be difficult. Again, the position espoused by the group is that the president must have a hand. And so, ab initio, you should know that the president's interests overrides virtually any other interest. If any other body is going to be working, there is hardly the possibility of they acting in a way that may be independent of the president's interest. That, for me, should be the underlying principle. There is hardly any doubt about that. And if that is the feeling, it does not matter what organizations or institutions that we bring in. There will be very little to do in terms of going against the wishes and interests of the government, and so for that matter, the president. And so it is not enough to say that that will be a guarantee to ensure that the needed impact that we want in this process would happen. I don't think so. We are not there.
When you mooted this idea of a referendum when you were in office, you wanted the election of MMDCs to be on partisan basis. Now, you failed to carry on with the referendum. Looking at the proposal and the government's position now, it would not be a political or partisan election at the district assembly level or the district local government level. Do you still think that our DCEs, our MCEs, and our mayors should be elected on partisan basis?
Absolutely, absolutely. There are competing political interests in this country as far as people who are non-politically aligned, independent candidates, and so on. And so you would have a situation where even if it's open to be done on partisan basis or lines, you would have different people being sponsored by different political parties. At the end of the day, there would be much more merit because you'll be looking just beyond the ruling party, and there's a possibility of persons who are not aligned to any of the parties emerging based on their merit as the voters consider. And so for me, that would have been the best. It also enhances the competition that we want and make them more responsive. For me, if the NDC would have to go to the polls and elect one of their own, it doesn't bring for me the needed issues to the fore as one would have wished. But if it's an election where the NPP, the NDC, or other parties, including independent persons, put themselves forward and are preaching issues okay, seeking to be voted on merit, then you are sure that it's not just an internal political game. As it stands now, it is a mere internal political game under a dressing of an election that is going to produce one out of 3 party members. It doesn't solve our problem. For me, it adds very little to it. It's a huge disappointment, and I'm afraid we will spend lots of money on this process, but the impact in deepening our decentralization program and thereby enhancing our democracy will be very, very little, very minimal.
Under our law, the president appoints the Electoral Commission chair, appoints the NCCE chair, appoints the Chief Justice, and appoints many other people. All these people are expected to be independent, and they are not supposed to be partisan. If you can trust the president to be independent in these appointments, why do you doubt the president's independence in appointing MMDCs?
At least from that process, you and I would know that much as the president's interest will be there, he will not go nominate to appointing card-bearing members of his political party. You and I would agree to a very large extent, if people remotely would share the views and sentiments or the interests of a party, they cannot be partisanly known, as you would see in this instance, card-bearing members. I'm not sure that the two can be the same. There's a vast difference from there.
Finally, before you go, because you're a member of parliament, there's a proposal to extend the president's term limit to 5 alongside members of parliament, and also the chamber should have as many as 300 MPs as a cap. I would want your comment on that before you take leave of us.
Again, my brother Umar Sanda, you would agree with me that Ghana operates in a community of nations. There are some countries that we work with, we aspire to be. In fact, their system of governance has inspired us and we've taken to. They have been one of the most advanced in the world that we seek to be. The level to which they are have not been premised on how many years or term limits that their leadership have had. If for me, you want to achieve progress for a country like Ghana, first of all, we need to understand what the real issues that confront us is, exactly what the solutions are, and what best approach are we taking to dealing with them. That for me does not matter how many years you give a government or a president or an MP. Don't forget, in this country, in our governance process, we have had very monumental achievements of various governments that have come and gone. Some came and introduced a national health insurance. They didn't need even more than a year within their 4-year mandate to do that. Somebody implemented free education. It was in a record 9 months, not the entire 4 years mandate given them. And so for me, it does not really make a difference. If a government knows what it takes to do what it has to do, if the government has its priorities right, you don't need more years. You can give somebody 20 years, but a person may, within a year or two, achieve better than what that 20 years person would have, depending on what their focus and their priorities are. And so for me, that again is much ado about nothing. Let us strengthen our institutions. Let us commit ourselves to do or work on the issues that confront this country as the leadership, and then we should get results. Otherwise, if we go on without ticking the box and making sure that we become more attentive to the issues that confront us and finding the right solutions, channeling out the right leadership attitudes to make a difference, it will mean nothing. We can give a government 20 years, 30 years. The results may not match what a serious, competent government would do in about 3, 4, or 5 years, 2 or 3, 4 years.
And this applies to MPs as well. So for you, MPs, president...
Absolutely. I mean, if you cannot do much with 4 years, what will you do in 1 year? If a government
the argument is made that the president spends the first year forming his government and the last year campaigning for re-election. So in effect, he has just 2 years to govern. And if you give him 5 years, he has no time.
Umaru, anybody who goes to sell their program to the Ghanaian people do so sure what they are about. They do so with clear timelines and they know when to take off, when to deliver. If you have your game right under your feet, you have control what you want to do, there is no way that there should be a difficulty in ensuring that you achieve results. For me, the formation of government should not necessarily affect a government that wants to deliver. You would have your program before you come into office, and you should time yourself within the 4-year time frame and know when to begin and when to achieve your results. For me, if 4 years is not enough, 1 year may not be enough. And if you need a government that has to deliver, it may not need to take more years. Fewer years can achieve results that more years may not be able to achieve. That's my view.
And you also don't think that we should expand Parliament to 300 as they are proposing? The committee wanted it to remain 276. The government says no, let's raise it to 300. And the same applies to Justice.
Well, I mean, if you look at the challenges that we had, for example, there are some constituencies which has the population of about 3-4 put together. And most of the election challenges we have had in this country has been partly due to the challenges encountered by election management bodies in administering the localities within their control. Okay, late delivery of election results, late supply of election materials, and so on, bring problems, and even goes to affect the quality and the integrity of elections. So for me, there's a real concern. But there's a constitutional formula, if my sense serves me well, in this country that we should use in arriving at roughly the number of people who must roughly constitute a constituency. By that, you would have ensured that there's a proper alignment on the average of what every population should be. It could lead to some realignment. There is a genuine fear by persons in political authority. So over the years, regardless of that constitutional prescription, we have rather sought to increase. But the increase for me should ensure a better participation and other things. If we think that that is the solution to making sure that more people get proper representation, well, we can look at that conversation.
Very well.
But for me, if we are not careful, given that there is this huge disparity in the size and population of constituencies that are supposed to be operating under the same remit, where one is about 3 or 4 times the size of another, there is a challenge. We have to deal with it. Part of the solution is that let's further break them down. But we are increasing as a country in terms of our population. So there could be a time where we would go beyond what we are. What would be the prescription? So we must begin to look at the constitutional formula prescribed so that we see how we can deal with it. That for me is more sustainable than increasing. But it does appear for now, that seems to be the popular decision. But even that, I would say we should tread cautiously and find a sustainable, lasting solution to dealing with ever-growing population in our politics.
Thank you so much for speaking to us tonight.
Thank you very much, and thanks for having me, my brother.
Thank you. That's Honorable Martin Ejime-Sakosa. He's the Chiman South MP, former local government minister. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. Let's go on the other line and speak to Akosia Menu. Now, she is an advisor to Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia on gender and social protection matters. Kosi, you're welcome to Eyewitness News.
Hi, Sandra. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. You've written a petition to the House of Parliament. What's your beef?
Thank you for having me, and good evening to your listeners. I filed this petition because I honestly believe Parliament must always represent the highest standards of leadership and integrity. There are millions of children who look up to members of Parliament, and you hear them every day in the classrooms. If you ask them, who do you want to be? There's some politician somewhere who's an MP they aspire to be. So when a member of Parliament interacts with children and singles one out and says to her, you are beautiful and I'll marry you, you'll become my wife, regardless of whether it was intended as a joke or not, we need to accept it was inappropriate and unacceptable. So it's not about coming after anybody or destroying their career. It's about protecting children. It's also about preserving public confidence in Parliament and reminding all public office holders that words matter. So the standards are higher for them.
Cozy, but you've said that it may be a joke, it may not be. We don't really know whether it was a joke or not. But you know that in our cultural settings, these things have become normalized, where elderly people refer to children, girls, as their wives, and it almost appears as if everybody agrees to that. Does that come up as a good defense for you, or that notwithstanding, you still do not agree?
I think that it comes up as a terrible defense because the rights of children are clearly stated in the Constitution. And we also have to be clear that as adults, we need to make kids feel safe. So if, for instance, for some people, it's almost as if a kid hasn't suffered physical harm, then it's inconsequential. It doesn't matter. It only matters if we can see some physical abuse, a scar or a bruising somewhere. All these things are conditioning. It's grooming. It's letting young girls feel like at a certain age, you need to accommodate the line of thinking. Because at what makes it okay for a 9-year-old to hear from a member of Parliament that you are beautiful and you are going to be my wife? It's not proper. Why couldn't he have said, "Oh, I think I see the next Tinana in you," or "I see the next Speaker of Parliament in you. You'll be Madam Speaker in the future"? Why couldn't he elevate the conversation to an aspiration that is beyond marriage for the young girl?
I want us to listen to the MP. He spoke to us earlier on the Citi Prime News, and he made his position. I want to play that and ask you whether that would satisfy you so you withdraw the petition. Let's listen to Honorable Mohammed Yakubu. He is the Member of Parliament for Ahafo South East.
Probably I might have known, but she is young. She probably wouldn't know what's talking about. So it's something that I am truly sorry for, and I don't think this will ever happen again. Irrespective of everything, I'll be cautious with where I do this thing. Traditionally, if a Muslim even goes to the Yama's palace, when he goes there, he'll be able to do anything, even pull the beer of the Yama and do all of that. And everybody will say, "I see a Muslim, leave him." But my position now supersedes those things, and I think it's unfortunate. Really unfortunate. It's unfortunate. And I apologize to the public, to the family of the kid. I have decided to get in touch with the MP. I've called him. His number is off. I want to, because I don't know the school. They are in Tamale. So I want to reach out, possibly even to the family, and say sorry to them. Whatever this might have caused to them, I apologize, and I'll do all possible means to reach them. I don't know where the school is. I don't know the places, but at least with the MP, I'm sure I'll be able to reach them and apologize to them as well.
So that's Honorable Mohammed Yakubu. He is the MP for Ahafo South East, speaking on Citi Prime News earlier this afternoon. Of course, you've heard him there apologizing. He's going to apologize to the family and more. He has given his reasoning. He talks about culturally and all of that. Would you want to withdraw your petition, or you still think he has to be sanctioned?
I think the apology addresses the head cause because of the public outcry. If he hadn't seen the outrage coming from, fellow Ghanaians, maybe we wouldn't get this apology. But what I am seeking for is that accountability in addressing the conduct itself. If Parliament simply says, "Oh, he apologized and let's move on," then a precedent has been set. What are we telling young kids? What are we telling young girls? What are we telling other children facing sin in other settings because we are making it a cultural norm? I don't think it is right. So for me, what I have done is to actually take the step and see if the Speaker, given all the processes available in Parliament, will look at it and say, "You know what? If Cody's objective is not to persecute, but actually to highlight the safety net that children need, to create an environment for them that feels safe, so that within the confines of their home, wherever there's abuse or inappropriate remarks, once they get into Parliament, have a conversation, the last thing they should see or the last thing they should hear is a member of Parliament singling out a young girl and saying, I want to marry in the future.
All right. Thank you so much for speaking to us.
You're welcome, son.
That's Akosia Menu. She's you too. She's Gender and Social Protection Advisor to NPP flag bearer Dr. Mahmoud Baumia. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. We'll return with more. Please stay with us.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
You know that feeling. A hospital bill that arrives out of nowhere. A diagnosis you weren't prepared for. A system that seemed designed to confuse you and costs that keep climbing. And the stress of not knowing if you're protected. Eden isn't lost. Eden Care was created to give it back to you. Eden Care is health insurance made for everyday family life. With Eden Care, getting healthcare is easy and you are backed by a trusted insurance partner with years of experience. No confusing terms, just complete protection for your entire family. Step back into peace. Step into experience you can rely on. Reach out right now at 059-692-1844 and choose Eden Care today. Eden Care is brought to you by Acacia Health Insurance, a member of the Enterprise Group.
You know that feeling when you're getting ready for work. Your shirt is still crumpled and the iron is just starting to warm up. Or you're late for the wedding and now about to blow dry your hair. Or you have just stocked up meat for the cold store and then suddenly, oh, light off. Life just keeps getting paused. But what if your roof, yes, your roof, could keep things running in your homes and businesses? With EcoBank ASAP, you can switch to solar now by getting a loan to buy solar power systems with no upfront cost and easy repayment. Power your life through EcoBank's vetted solar vendors and lower your power bills over time.
Take back your power with EcoBank ASAP. EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank.
Channel 1 TV is live on DSTV, GoTV, and HD+. On DSTV, find us on Channel 363. On GoTV, we're on Channel 117. And on HD+, get us on Channel 108. On a digital TV, run a new search. But take note that without an antenna, you cannot access Channel 1 TV. Channel 1 TV can be accessed on any free-to-air digital box, like the DSTV and HD+ boxes.
Channel 1 TV, telling your story, empowering change.
Let your voice be heard on Eyewitness News on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag Eyewitness News.
Yeah, welcome back. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM, broadcasting around the globe on citinewsroom.com, also on YouTube and Facebook. Just look for Citi FM. Around Ghana on a host of affiliate stations, including Adwenpa 100.7 FM in Takwa and Beach 105.5 FM in Takrady, as well as 93.5 FM, that's Sky, also in Takrady. All the three based in the Western region. In the Bono region, in Sunyani on Greener 95.9 FM at the UNE, University of Energy and Natural Resources. In the Ashanti region in Kumasi on Focus 94.3 FM and Orange 107.9 FM. In the Volta region in Tajebu on Reviver 99.3 FM and in Hohwe on VOV Radio 95.7. In the Northern region in Bimbila on Radio Bimbila 91.9 FM. In Upper East, we are on Quality 88.7 FM in Garu and Gumzang 90.1 FM in Tongo. In the Upper West region, we are on Tungsong 97.3 FM in Wa. And in the Northeast region, we are on Radio Jimbali 107.3 FM in Jimbali. We are live on YouTube and live on Facebook. The show is interactive. Send your messages to 0539 986 996. 0539 986 996. You can also mention my handle at Umaru Sanda or at Citi973. That is on X, previously called Twitter. And the world will hear your views during the Talkback segment. Fafa Melody Kpotife of the Citi Newsroom is in studio now to bring us news summaries. Fafa, hello.
Hi, Sanda.
Please take it over.
So, in news updates today, a 6-year-old girl has died following yesterday's crash involving a school bus and a tipper truck at Airport Junction on the Accra Mall Jowlu stretch in Accra. Citi News has confirmed that the child succumbed to her injuries at about 8 p.m. last night while receiving treatment at the police hospital. Assistant Division Officer 1 ADO1 King Alex Nati of the Ghana National Fire Service confirmed that the other children injured in the crash are receiving treatment at various health facilities. Well, away from that, the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission GTEC has directed public officers in tertiary institutions who hold executive positions in political parties to resign from either their political office or their public appointment. The Commission says senior officials, including vice-chancellors, principals, registrars, finance officers, deans and heads of department, are prohibited from serving as party executives while in public office. Speaking to Citi News, Deputy Director General of GTEC, Professor Augustine Oklu said the move is necessary to protect the integrity of Ghana's higher education institutions.
It's to individuals in the various tertiary institutions who they are holding offices. By that, they are into management. So heads of departments, registrars, directors, principals, vice chancellors, finance officers, etc., who also went ahead to contest for party positions. This is not a new directive. I think the Commission is just enforcing something that is already there. There's a document from the Commission on Human Rights and Administrative Justice titled Code of Conduct for Public Officers of Ghana. In that document, if you go to section 1.5 of that document, it says that public officers shall maintain political neutrality in the performance of their functions. The various provisions have been made under that particular section. As I've said, this is not new. Even we, I'm a lecturer, we lecturers, we are not allowed, as part of our code of conduct, we are not allowed to go into the lecture hall and start talking politics and supporting a particular party. So we just want sanity on the various campuses.
Professor Augustine Oklu is the Deputy Director General of the Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, GTEC. Now, motorists are expected to pay more for petroleum product as the first pricing window of August opens. According to the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers COPEC, international benchmarks have recorded overall increases of up to 12%, making pump price adjustments likely. Executive Director Duncan Amma of COPEC tells Citi News, while some oil marketing companies may reduce prices slightly, the general outlook points to higher fuel prices nationwide.
Cumulatively, this is one of the windows that you've seen a lot of the oil marketing companies go up in window. Prices were not uniform for OMCs at the start of the window till the end of the window. Some of them have actually gone up. The expectation is that they come down slightly at the levels that some of them achieved. For those who didn't go as high, they might go up a little bit to be able to make up for the adjustments in global prices over the period. International benchmarks did go up by some averages of 12%. And so for both petrol, diesel, what you would witness is that what you had the previous window will not be what you get this window. Most people will pay higher for fuel across country. But like I did indicate, some oil marketing companies had already gone up quite significantly and may not be able to go up again or would stay prices. Whilst for others who did even much higher, the expectation is that they may reduce some of their pump levels or price levels a little bit to be able to stay within prices within the window. So it's a mixed bag. Overall, the city hasn't been that stable. International markets if you do cumulative, has also gone up over the period, and that would account for why Ghanaians will be paying higher for fuel the first week of August.
That was the Executive Director for the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers COPEC, Duncan Amwa. Now, lawyers for the Christo Asafo Mission are considering their next line of action after the funeral rite of Apostle Kwejo Safo Kantanka continued despite a 10-day interim injunction granted by an Accra High Court. Speaking to Citi News, lawyer for the Christo Asafo Mission, Nana Kofi Safo Kantanka, disclosed that the legal team is meeting with the wider family to determine the next steps. He added that lawyers for former Dom Kwabena MP, Sarah Adjoa Safo, have filed an application to set aside the order, which will be heard on August 19.
Although the funeral is ongoing, the lawyers, we are currently in a meeting on taking the next step, because my senior, Professor Kwame Jan, represents the wider family, and he takes instructions from them. So currently, we are in a meeting, and then we'll know the next line of action. So for now, it's inconclusive. And so, since we haven't concluded on anything, I can't let it out. But then all that we know is that there has been an order of injunction against Honorable Adjoa Safo, and also her lawyer has also filed an application to set aside the order of the court. Yes, which the hearing date, the return date is on the 19th of August. So. We can conclusively say that she has been served, since she has procured the service of a lawyer for a lawyer to file an application to set aside the order. They are well in the notice.
That was the lawyer for the Christo Asafo Mission, Nana Kofi Safo Kantanka.
And that was Melody Fafak Potife of the Citi Newsroom, bringing us news summaries here on Eyewitness News. We still have your voice later on through Talkback. Send messages 0539 986 996 0539 986 996. Now, a few weeks ago, the Yana passed away. He was laid to rest. The funeral rites, at least the first ones, have been done. In the interim, someone has to be appointed or installed to act with the powers of the Yana until a substantive Yana is appointed. Now, that ceremony happened today in the traditional capital of Dagbang, the kingdom of the Dagomba people. Shawana Yusuf is a bureau chief for the Northern Belt, and she's joining me from Yendi now. Shawana, you're welcome to Eyewitness News.
Hi, good evening, Sanda. It's good to be here.
Good to hear from you. How was today's ceremony?
Well, thank you very much. Today, actually, in general, I would describe it as the show of culture, rich Dagbon culture, here at the traditional seat of Dagbon in Yendi, following the installation of the regent for the area due to the death of the overlord. A lot of culture display since morning. It ended around 2 p.m. when the official outgoing of the regent. So from morning it was rich display of Dagbon culture from morning till afternoon. And at the official opening of official outbearing of the regent, I'm saying official outbearing because the private cultural ceremony of installing a regent was done behind closed doors. Nobody saw what happened unless the kingmakers. They were behind closed doors to ensure everything went well. And after the tradition was done, he was officially outdoored and brought out to the general public to show him or show the public who the new regent was. We had the president gracing the occasion. We also had the former vice president, Dr. Baumia, also in attendance, among other key dignitaries in attendance for today's activity. We ended some few minutes ago, and all the messages kept hammering on the need to sustain the peace that the late overlord fought very hard to get for Dagbon and the people of this area. So that has been it for today. Peace, peace, peace has been the message. Almost everybody who spoke touched on the need for peace. And the new regent also promised that he was going to sustain all the good side of his father in maintaining peace, most especially amongst the two divides in Dagbon, that is the Abudu and the Andani Gate. He promises to make sure that when it is time to hand over power to the rightful gate, he's definitely going to do that, and he would ensure that the peace that his father fought strongly for is sustained.
So what does this mean in moving forward towards the final funeral and the appointment of a new Yana? How significant is today?
Today is so significant, most especially with the comments of the new regent, that he is going to ensure that he sustains peace, and he also ensure that the roadmap that was followed to achieve this peace that Dagbon is enjoying today is sustained. This is because when it comes to the installation of a chief for the Dagbon Kingdom, it lies before two gates, the Abudu and the Andani Gate. And now that they are promising everybody that the right thing will be done, we'll be certain that there won't be any misunderstanding in the lead up to handing over power to the Abudu, who are the next to rule when the time comes. So what it means is that we'll be certain that it will be a peaceful process, and Dagbon will come out stronger again after the end of it all.
Now, you have mentioned the public officials who were there. What about traditional rulers from other kingdoms? Did we have representations from those palaces, or they would be waiting until the main investiture of the Yana?
We had almost all the other kingdoms in attendance, most especially the Yagbon was the center rep. The Bupewura, who happens to be the vice president of the National House of Chiefs, was in attendance. He actually read the message on behalf of the National House of Chiefs, and his message was clear and loud that they are ready to stand behind him, to help him, to be able to do all the good things he's supposed to do as a regent. And when it is time to hand over power to the rightful gate, they are also going to be there to support him. They know this is going to be a heavy duty for him to bear, but they promised him their maximum support to ensure that he goes through it successfully. All the chiefs were in attendance. They promised their support. We had a representation from the Mamprubu Kingdom. We also had a representation from the Wana, and among several other things who came to grace this particular important occasion.
Thank you so much for speaking to us. Shawana Yusuf, she's a bureau chief for the Northern Belt. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. It's now time to know what's happening in the world of business, and Nashika Caesar is sitting in front of me. Now, what's happening in the world of business?
Well, a lot actually, but we would start with Issa warning that Ghana's gold price remains a huge risk to Ghana's reserve strategy.
This news, be there as it happens.
Let your voice be heard on Eyewitness News on Facebook at facebook.com/Citi97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/Citi973, and Instagram at instagram.com/Citi973 with the hashtag Eyewitness News.
This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. Nashika, take it up.
Right. Now, the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, ISE, has cautioned that Ghana's growing reliance on gold to strengthen its international reserves could expose the country to risk if global prices decline. Speaking at the Institute Post-Media Budget Review Forum in Accra, the ISE Director, Professor Robert Dakwose, said the Bank of Ghana's gold accumulation strategy had boosted the country's reserve position. However, he warned that a sustained fall in global oil prices could weaken the value of those reserves.
Part of what we have achieved in respect of the international reserves is due to the gold, what is happening on the gold prices. Significant increases in gold prices. Okay, and indeed, in the first half of the year, I believe that gold constituted about 68% of total exports. Now that means that the economy is very reliant on gold currently, as it were. And so if there is any adverse shock, that would hit us very hard if there's an adverse shock that is coming from gold prices. These issues are reflected in the trade, international trade developments. Trade surplus tripled. Again, like I said, it's essentially coming from gold, to some extent, limited extent, cocoa.
That was the director of the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, ISE, Professor Robert Darkwose. Moving on, the Ghana Standards Authority, GSA, has set October 1, 2026 as the commencement date for the implementation of the pre-export verification of conformity program for vehicle imports. The regulation forms part of broader efforts to improve the quality and safety of imported vehicles, enhance consumer protection, and reduce the risk posed by unroadworthy vehicles on Ghana's roads. Deputy Director General in charge of General Services at the Ghana Standards Authority, Samuel Attah-Mensah, says the program is expected to significantly improve compliance with national vehicle standards and contribute to efforts to reduce road crashes.
The statistics also indicate the very active ones, the young ones who would have been very supportive to the economy. About 60% of those who die are made up of people within the age brackets of 25 to 45. And this is the active population. So this policy, yes, is coming to resolve the environmental issues. It's coming to help us keep our population active. But it consolidates the mandate of GSA. The Act 1078 says that we are there to protect life and to facilitate trade. So the consumer is very critical to us. So whatever comes into the country, it is the duty of GSA to ensure that it is safe for human consumption and it is safe for an environment, and also play a fair rule for all people who are engaged in trade.
That was the Deputy Director General in charge of General Services at the Ghana Standards Authority, Samuel Attah-Mensah. Now, Ghana spent more than 36 billion Ghana cedis importing food products in 2025, with cereal grains, frozen chicken, and animal products accounting for a significant share of the country's food import bill. This is according to the latest annual International Merchandise Trade Statistics report released by the Ghana Statistical Service. Here's more.
The report highlights continued dependence on foreign supplies to meet demand for key food commodities. Processed cereal, grains were Ghana's largest food import, valued at 2.94 billion cedis and accounting for 8.1% of total food import. Frozen chicken ranked second at 2.84 billion cedis, followed by animal guts, bladders, and other parts, which were imported at a cost of 2.72 billion. Rice featured twice among the country's top food imports. Semi-milled or wholly milled rice was valued at 2.39 billion, while broken rice accounted for another 1.19 billion cedis. Other major food imports included sugar, frozen fish, palm oil, mangoes, and shea nut. The four leading food imports, processed cereal grains, frozen chicken, animal products, and rice, collectively accounted for 30% of Ghana's food import bill. The figures underline the scale of Ghana's food import dependence, even as the country continues to expand agricultural production and promote import substitution. On the export side, the report points to growing opportunities in value-added agriculture and agro-processing, with processed cocoa products, cashew nut, tuna, and shea-based products emerging as important contributors to Ghana's food export profile.
Emmanuel Opong with that report. Now, Zondatech Ghana has given the strongest assurance that it will make access to financing available to prospective vehicle buyers at its upcoming auto sale and expo. The company's chief executive officer Yang said 15 financial institutions will be present at the upcoming Channel 1 TV Zondatech Auto Sale and Expo to offer vehicle financing. The move, she explained, was aimed at making new vehicles more accessible to Ghanaians. She also urged Ghanaians to take advantage of the lower lending rate to purchase vehicles at the expo.
On that day, you will be seeing around 15 banks there. They are willing to help the customers to buy the vehicles. The banks, they say now the basic rate has come down. Now Ghanaians can get cheaper loans from the banks. So it's beneficial for both the customers and the banks, and also for Zonda. The banks, they said that because of Zonda, they will even give a lower interest rate for the customers.
Yang is the Chief Executive Officer of Zondatech Ghana. Now, the Chief Executive Officer of the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies, Dr. Riverson Opong, has warned that sustained increases in global crude oil prices could trigger further hikes in fuel prices at the pumps, stressing that oil marketing companies have no choice but to pass on higher costs to consumers. This comes as the Chamber projects petrol prices could increase by about 7.58% from August 1, 2026, while diesel prices are expected to record the steepest increase of about 12.50%.
Crude oil prices moving from 80 to 100 within 2 weeks, affecting the Platts prices and ICE prices for the product itself. Therefore, at the pumps, we have to see changes from the first. I wish these changes hadn't happened within a window, but I always say it. We've been taken for granted as oil marketing companies for long, and that's what had to happen. No government controls international benchmark prices, so it's not the doing of any government, so no blame games. What the government can do, we've seen what they did. Probably, again, we've said it many times, but it never happened, but we keep on saying it. There's a time that probably the energy sector levy will be removed or will be taken away for consumers to benefit. So whether the Minister of Finance will take it or not, that's the government's cup of tea. We are going to transfer every single cost to the consumer.
That was the Chief Executive Officer of the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies, Dr. Riverson Opong. And then Eyewitness News. City Business News on Eyewitness News. We have more business-related stories on City Business, citynewsroom.com. I'm Nashika Caesar, grateful for your company.
Eyewitness News. Be there as it happens.
Introducing Ghana's leading pay-as-you-copy photocopier leasing company. Lease an A4, A3, heavy-duty or production machine and pay for only the copies made or design your own payment plan. Simple and tietia. That's not all. Incredibly, toners, repairs, maintenance, follow-me printing, centralized tracking all come free of charge. Remember, financial prudence is the name of the game. Folks, forget about the expensive gimmicks and be smart. Join the hundreds of satisfied clients across all the 16 regions and every sector of the economy and save over 60% of your printing costs. Visit us at www.valexlease.com or call 0244-644048. Be prudent and lease a copier. Terms and conditions apply. Valex Lease is a wholly owned Ghanaian company. Valex Lease, affordable document management solutions.
Enterprise Blue FM. Enterprise Blue FM, the bus. It's DJ E on Enterprise Blue FM. Guys, after the heavy rains this week, we are looking for the calmest person in Ghana. Who's the most chill person you know right now? Let's go.
DJ, it has to be Mansa. Look, the flood entered her house and completely submerged her car. Next time I see her on her WhatsApp status, she's smiling and sipping tea on her balcony. Like me, I'll be crying, but she's totally relaxed. DJE, it's true. Master's home and car are destroyed. But this girl is not stressing at all. She just tells us everything is under control. Hey, Mansa, how?
Wow, Mansa, we need your secret too.
They say Entoa, but when unexpected floods strike, we've got you covered. At Enterprise Insurance, with over 100 years of experience, we say whether it's home, motor, travel, or insurance for your business, Entoa, if it happens, chill.
Enterprise, your advantage. 30 years ago, MTN arrived in Ghana and everything changed. Now, to celebrate 30 years, we are giving back big time. The MTN at 30 promo is here. 9 Toyota Land Cruiser Prados to be won. Over 10 million Ghana cedis in rewards, plus so much more. Connect to your everyday hustle on MTN. Make video calls. Browse the internet for business with family and friends. Connect your home to MTN Fiber. Make that money move on Momo and stay ahead because every move counts. Ghana, let's celebrate 30 years of MTN with the MTN at 30 promo. Use more MTN services, build more points, and win big. Dial *530# or visit the My MTN app for more.
Let your voice be heard on Eyewitness News on Facebook at facebook.com/City97.3, Twitter at twitter.com/City973, and Instagram at instagram.com/City973 with the hashtag Eyewitness News.
You're welcome back. This is Eyewitness News on 97.3 Citi FM. It's now time for Talk Back, and Talk Back is brought to you by Valex Lease Equipment Limited. Valex Lease, affordable document management solutions. Talk Back is a segment of Eyewitness News where we hear from you. The messages you send to us on WhatsApp, number 0539 986 996, and by going on my handle at X and mentioning me, we read them for you here in Talk Back. Let me start off from X. And Baba Chairman in Tamale says the NDC a few years ago vehemently opposed the election of MMDCs only to sharply turn around to same. This tantamount to cognitive resonance. Good evening, Umaru Sanda. Well, Baba Chairman, this is not accurate information. As I remember it, the referendum of 2018 was proposed for the election of MMDCEs by the Akufo-Addo administration. The proposal from the government at the time was the election should be partisan. The NDC said it did not agree with a partisan election of MMDCEs. Because they could not have a consensus on the matter, the referendum was withdrawn in the 11th hour, which then ended up with no election of MMDC so far. Now, the new proposal from the government is similar to what was contained in the previous CRC report, where the president would nominate 5 people, 2 would be removed, there'll be 3 for the people to vote, and that's what the NPP is now opposed to, that it is still the same issue of politicization, which they had initially rejected. Musa Abatwa says NPP press conference is nothing but hypocrisy, selective amnesia, and cheap politics. Instead of engaging in outdated political gimmicks, they should call on Ken Ofori-Atta to return an account for his stewardship. Let's stop the political games. So that's on X. Sami has our messages on WhatsApp.
It says, good evening, Umaru. I think Ghana would have to acquire the services of justices from Kenya, Nigeria, and Uganda to handle political issues, since both political parties, the NDC and the NDC, do not have trust in the judicial service. It's always a threat of payback when an appointee is sentenced by the court. This from Enel in Akwemufie. Aka Paul in Alphamem says the government decision to free Sedina Tamaklo is going to set a bad precedent for this country. It's about time rightful thinking Ghanaians speak against such decisions before it becomes a real issue in our necks. The least favor to the woman was to ask for refund of the money, which never ever will happen. This one came without a name. It says, but there are numerous letters from the office demanding the money from the company. What are the response of the company to this or to these letters? Lexus Diok in the UK says, after reading a judgment from the Court of Appeal, it is clear that the prosecutor did not do a good job. Simple. Gabriel from Ashie says, Akosia Menu is an attention seeker. There's nothing wrong with what the MP has said. She should focus rather on fixing the MPP. Joe Sadaboila says, good evening. The MPP was in a rush to put Sedina behind bars to satisfy their party members without considering the technicalities involved. The best thing MPP should be doing now is to apologizing to Ghanaians for their mess. By Papa Abba, Jones Adoboy Illa.
Let me bring this one from Papa Bisu, Spintex Accra. And he says, hi bro, on Sedina Tamaklo, Ghanaians should by now be questioning how the past Attorney General under the MPP did their work in terms of prosecuting their political opponents whenever they're in power. Innocent Ghanaians, why jailing them? Chachu Chikata has already exposed them big time by winning his case when he was jailed. Gofredami and Jakpa's drama still fresh with us under Nanado. And I'm very happy the Ghana Legal Council, I think it should be General Legal Council, never again should we entrust the state in the hands of NDC. So that's Papa BCU sending that message from Spintex in Accra. Sami?
Addison from Tema says, who receives money with the intention of keeping it, sign a receipt note and place a copy on the file. What at all is this in this country? This country called Ghana.
This message from a sender who calls himself We the People from Oyarifa, and he says the real problem we have is that in our part of the world, public officials owe allegiance to the appointing authority and not to the state. Many of us hold a view that today's ruling is a setback in the fight against corruption. What is the essence of having a special prosecutor whose cases can be terminated at any time? When Donald Trump wanted to contest Biden's victory in 2020, the first judge to strike out the case was one that he himself appointed. But in Africa, the level of conscience of public officials is -0. This is why we are facing this kind of conundrum. Akasokri Joseph in Bongo says this is what time and patience can do. About 19 months ago, the MPP were in power and could do anything without fear or favor. Today, a demonstration and press conference almost every week. At least you would have some sense to learn during this your difficult time in opposition. Peter from Cocoa Village in Tema, he says the statement made by the MP was a jovial one, should not be misunderstood or interpreted in the villages. Calling a small girl my wife means nothing. Let's focus on major issues affecting the nation and ignore comments like that. Sami?
Abi National Inwa says, to me, I oppose 1, the dual citizenship, 2, no delegate system, 3, election of MMDCs, and the age of the presidency, stating his opinion on the constitutional review. Maro.
Interesting. And so we're waiting to see what step is going to happen next. There's going to be a committee that will be set up to take this forward. Cornelius in Sunyani in the Bono region says, what's Nana B saying and calling names? Flee from the jurisdiction and fugitive as the former finance minister Ken Ofori-Atta did and now resides in someone's country in the United States of America. Why can't he come to his own country and face the music ahead of him? If Sedina is now free to go home and the new patriotic parties are unwell about it or unhappy about it, they should kindly go to court as they told us years ago in this country.
Another one says, my name is Abuaji Caleb Apia from Domi. The government decision to allow constituents to elect their MMDC is a welcoming step. However, it must be done with no restriction. Any form of nomination by the president is still interference and defeats the purpose of true decentralization.
Let me read the next message from Baba Chairman in Tamale. He says, okay, I think I have read this particular one. Cephas Ade in Ashaiman. He says, good evening, Umaru. I find it very ridiculous when people want the election of MMDCs to be open to everyone, knowing very well that the chief executives at the various assemblies represent the president. How can NPP member as DCs support the policies of NDC government without sabotaging the president? The best is for the president to appoint, an election is conducted. We need loyalty to develop. Thank you. Sami, I don't know what you think of this thing, but I find it a bit restrictive. I mean, if you want the people to vote, let the people vote. But this idea of president nominates 5, these 5 are reduced to 3, then the people go and choose 3. It's still the president voting. And yesterday, I had an interview with the Chamber of Local Government. They thought it was okay. I mean, they are the experts. So if they think so, yeah, maybe. But I respectfully disagree with them. I think that if you want it to be independent, it should be independent. But for me, this doesn't look as independent enough. It looks restricted. Now, the other argument is what I'm still weighing, that you need the president to have his man in the district. So if you don't have, then there may be issue of, you remember President Akufo-Addo at a point said that some people in some districts, we didn't vote for him. So because of that, he didn't send development there. We know that we run a system where we have an executive president who controls the national purse. So I think if we want to make it truly independent, let the president not nominate anybody. That's my view. I don't know what you think.
I agree with you. But then again, the counter argument for that will be that even if the people are elected by the constituents or the district people, you will still need the support of central government in terms of funds to develop. The common fund is controlled by the executive. You have to go through the local government minister before you can access it. So assuming the people just elect you from whichever political party you are. But then again, we should also know that these assembly elections, that the Akufo-Addo administration wanted to push that it should be done on partisan line. We all know the political lines of these assembly members. I know the political party of my assembly member. And so if we say that we don't want political parties to have interference, already they are interfering in the local governance system of this country.
Except that it is not naked.
It is not naked.
So now the government, the previous government said, no, let everybody know what we are doing. Let's not play the ostrich. This government said, no, because of what we are seeing at the parliamentary level, we don't want to take that as well to the district assembly level. And I sat in the same room with you where we had Professor Kwame Nahoy, one of our foremost brains on local government, and he appears to have that belief and understanding, which is what now has been packaged and given back to us as government. But of course, this will be decided first by Parliament, and then it will go to a referendum. So we'll see how that goes.
I feel we should open it up. Don't restrict. Don't restrict. The president nominates. What if the president nominates an individual who the people do not like? Nominate someone who will not bring the development that people want. So I believe that just open it up. Let anybody who wishes to contest. And the central government must support the person, irrespective of the political party. But there must be clear KPIs. This is what you are supposed to do. If you don't do it, you'll be sanctioned. And we are good to go.
Hack from WA says, so what is the Techiman South MP saying? He's just gerrymandering, no solution or alternative. The bottom line is that voting would take place among 3 people. My regards to Comrade Empire. I don't know who Comrade Empire is. Tafamba David inside Ajingano says, it's difficult to trust judgments because 1, the High Court convicted someone which supposedly beyond all reasonable doubt. 2, there is an appeal and the appeal court overturns the decision of the High Court, also supposedly beyond all reasonable doubt. 3, then the Supreme Court comes in to either overturn or uphold the judgment of either the High Court or Court of Appeal. That's if there's a further appeal. Now, who exactly among the 3 courts has given the true ruling? So the courts is basically about arguing and convincing the judges, coupled with quoting the laws instead of the fact of the matter. I think the jury system is better. Well, what you have just said may not be entirely accurate. So you argue the law, you connect it to the fact, and then the judges will decide. Now, what happens is that at the High Court, we had one single judge sitting. She sentenced him, or her, Sedina Tamaklo, that is. Now, what happened yesterday was a court empaneled by 3 judges. The idea is that 3 heads are better than 1, right? So that's what the appeal system has done. If it should go up to the Supreme Court, you may have a panel of 5, 7, 9, and all of that. So the idea is that those ones have more brains, or maybe more brains coming together will possibly see things differently. So that is really the idea around the appellate system. We also have the jury system, which we use, but only in specialized cases. Beska Davo from Tuba Kaswa. Sami, what's he saying?
My area.
Oh, that's your area.
Tuba Junction.
Okay, Tuba Junction. What is he saying?
Says, please let the political analysts know that the MNDCs are just caretakers executing the mandate of the president. It cannot be just any person that the president deemed fit, just like ambassadors. Opening the electoral floodgate could be sabotaging any party member can win and decide not to deliver the president development package to the people, just to paint the government with a black paint.
Interesting. Jonah Kata in Osino says, what is Martin saying? How can the district be independent when the development lies on the central government? But I understand what they couldn't do and is now done is evil. Politics is meant for development, not criticizing everything what the government has done. Let's go to the next message. Will's Yoga in Abuja 30. Sami, what's he saying?
It says, Umaru Sanda, I support the G-Tech decision. Public officials who hold party positions should resign from those roles as doing otherwise conflict with the code of conduct. Upholding neutrality, integrity, and public trust is essential for effective and impartial public service.
Thank you so much, Sami Wiafi, for helping us bring you Talk Back, which is brought to you by Valex Lease Equipment Limited. Valex Lease, affordable document management solutions. I am Umaru Sandamadu. Earlier we had Nasha Kasiza bringing us business news. Fafa Melody Portufe bringing us news summaries. I was produced tonight by Juliana Odamia Sari, Fred Tetejabano, Kwabina Wilson, and Bevlin Langdon. The technical support from Emmanuel Lati, Edwin Kwakofi, and the new media team helped us to be online. We'll be back on Monday at 1700 GMT. Meanwhile, if you want more news and current affairs, at 8 p.m. tonight on Channel 1 TV, I'll be bringing you Channel 1 Newsroom, or CNR. And then tomorrow at 9 a.m. on Channel 1 TV and Citi FM, I'll be bringing you The Big Issue, where we do an analysis of the big stories of the week. Up next, though, I have in studio Gabilolo. Gabilolo, who is bringing us Sports Panorama, the most listened to sports program.
Yeah, the best 120 minutes of your night.
120 there you mentioned.
120 minutes. I mean, it's 2 hours, so.
Yes, it's 90 minutes. The football.
The football is 90 minutes.
Then extra time is what?
Extra time, so you are doing 30 minutes.
Then after that,
it's done penalties.
So that's together, all put together, it's 120 minutes. So
120 plus, yeah.
Did we play any 120? Did we play any extra
No, we didn't play any extra time. Colombia scored us as early as 15 minutes, so the game was done. We didn't equalize, and then we exited.
What does FIFA say? FIFA says that they'll sell the World Cup.
Yeah. So essentially, Gianni Infantino is looking to sell minority stakes of the World Cup. So he's bringing on private investors. They create a subsidiary known as the FFE, so the FIFA Forward Enterprise, and then they will take care of the ticketing, commercialization of the tournament. So branding wise, the part that will bring revenue into let's say FIFA or the tournament, and then after making that, they have to then split the money to the 211 member associations. But then he has to.
So this is a business idea. Why are everybody?
No, it's a business idea, but it dilutes the quality of the competition.
The competition has been diluted already by.
And you see, no, I actually have a problem with it because
and the phone call by Donald Trump.
And you see that the thing is, he's already introduced a 48 expanded tournament.
That's one, which is
that
good.
has not been experimented at full length, and then he's already thinking about making it to 64 tournaments. Then it means that just invite all the 211 member associations to come and play the World Cup. Yeah, because that's what he wants to do.
No need for qualifiers.
Exactly, because look, I think the World Cup is a sacred tournament. Let countries enjoy and say that, okay, they've toured for qualification.
Let countries, let the team be open and let everybody.
No, if you want to make it, then everybody has to get money. Then I'm saying it dilutes the competition.
No, it does not dilute. At the end of the day, we still go to semi-final and final anyway. So look, with this one that we played, we were 100 teams, were we not? The one that we just finished.
Which one? No, we were not 100 teams.
What I mean by 100 is that plenty.
Yeah,
plenty, right?
Yeah.
At the end, it came down to who? The best two. So everybody knows the best. Would you remember who?
No, but
would you remember who qualified out of Group F or Group
F
or Group C? But you will remember who won the World Cup, and that's what everybody.
So that's what you are focused on.
Yeah, and let's
no, but I don't think it makes sense. And that's why we've had 3 of the confederations actually not agree.
The only problem I have with him is the phone call with Donald Trump. Otherwise,
and that is where it started from. Also, that phone call. That's where it started from.
I also enjoyed his halftime show.
Well, I mean,
it's that one too. Is not
no,
nice.
it's an American concept. So you see it in the NBA, the NFL, nice. But in football, we've not seen like a stretched 15, 16, 17 minutes.
It gives them time to rest.
The whole World Cup itself in North America was more to get into the American concept, the way they handled the football.
Yeah, it was nice.
And I mean, if you're looking at making money, yeah, it makes sense.
After the FIFA, we will sell it.
You saw the World Cup, so you're part of Gianni.
Yeah.
And that's why CAF is even yet to even
But CAF will not talk.
So CAF, Oceania, and then the last one.
CONCACAF people, whatever.
CONCACAF. Yeah, they're also yet to respond.
No, they have spoken.
No, it's CONCACAF. Yeah, so CONMEBOL. It's CONMEBOL.
I don't know which one.
That's the South American teams. Yeah.
UEFA has spoken.
Yeah.
CAF. Who is that president? Is it Ahmad?
No, Mochepe. Patrice Mochepe.
From South Africa.
Yes.
Oh, we'll go back. CAF will not say anything. We are waiting to see what the big boys will say. Then we'll follow. We won't say nothing. CAF.
So we'll be talking about that a lot more. We'll get into that. You know the Black Queens too are in action. So yeah,
and
we'll break it down and see what's up for the Queens.
And there's some athletics something also.
Yeah, so Glasgow, the 2026 Commonwealth Games. So far, 2 medals for Team Ghana, boxing and then shot put.
The medals, is it silver or bronze or gold?
1 silver and then 1 bronze.
That's no medal. Go bring gold. You go and bring silver. Silver there. Silver is that the same. Is it not that the same?
No, I know silver to be silver. I don't know about that the same.
People of God, I'm leaving in the hands of Gabi Milito of the Citi Sports Desk to bring you Sports Panorama. His team is ready.
City News. We speak first. Reach our hotline on 03